The Galactic Navigation Academy was a place of prestige, drawing the finest minds from across the known universe. The final exam was the ultimate test, charting a course through uncharted space without pre-fed AI assistance. For most species, this was a daunting task, requiring vast computational resources. Alien cadets prepared meticulously, relying on quantum processors, Neuralink AI, and multidimensional star charts. Their approach was mathematical, precise, and time-consuming. Even with their technology, the exam would take a full week to complete. Each species had developed its own navigational philosophy, but all of them depended on sheer processing power. Among the students was a lone human, Cadet Jackson. He stood out, not because of any physical distinction, but because he lacked the cybernetic enhancements most species considered essential for space travel. His mind wasn't linked to a computational mainframe. He had no neural implants. His tools consisted of a standard academy tablet, a stylus, and his own eyes. The aliens viewed him with curiosity, some with amusement. To them, human navigational methods were primitive. Earth's species was new to deep space travel, and many cadets assumed Jackson's presence was little more than a political gesture, an experiment rather than a genuine competitor. The challenge was presented: navigate from a designated point to an unknown destination using only the celestial bodies visible in the simulation. The conditions mimicked deep space travel, where AI databases might be corrupted and pre-programmed maps wouldn't exist. Each cadet was given raw astronomical data and access to their own tools, but no pre-plotted routes. Alien students began immediately, diving into their computational models. Their processors ran thousands of simulations, calculating gravitational influences, trajectory optimizations, and possible hazards. Equations filled holographic displays as complex algorithms determined the best course. Every movement was precise, deliberate, methodical. Jackson, however, did none of this. He leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning the holographic projection of the star field above him. His fingers traced invisible lines in the air. He wasn't waiting for an AI to tell him the answer. He was reading the stars the way ancient humans had done for thousands of years. His mind worked differently. Instead of raw calculations, he relied on pattern recognition. He identified anchor points, large celestial bodies whose relative positions would help him determine location. He factored in stellar drift, gravitational pulls, and trajectory corrections without relying on external computation. A few aliens noticed his inactivity and smirked. One whispered to another, "He doesn't even know where to start." But Jackson did. His ancestors had navigated vast oceans using the night sky alone, long before humanity ever left its homeworld. Polynesian wayfinders had used wave patterns and star positions to cross entire oceans without maps. Vikings had followed the sun's reflection in chunks of calcite crystal to determine their heading. Even ancient desert travelers had known how to move between oases by reading the constellations. That knowledge had not been lost. It had evolved. And now, it was proving useful in a way no alien had anticipated. Jackson took a deep breath, placed his stylus to the tablet, and began charting his course. Not in a week, not in days, but in hours. Days passed. The alien cadets remained deep in their calculations, refining their routes with meticulous precision. Their AI models ran endless simulations, cross-checking trajectories against gravitational anomalies and unknown variables. Each equation was scrutinized, ensuring no deviation that could lead to disaster. Meanwhile, Jackson waited. He had nothing left to adjust. His work was done. He watched as the others pushed through their calculations, their reliance on technology evident in every correction and recalibration. He wasn't impatient, just curious. Curious how long it would take them to realize what he already knew. Finally, the exam ended. The results were ready for evaluation. The judging panel, composed of seasoned navigators from across the galaxy, began reviewing each submission. The alien cadets watched with quiet confidence, knowing their routes had been optimized to perfection by the most advanced systems in existence. Jackson's submission was reviewed last. Not out of respect, out of skepticism. No one expected it to hold up. The panel ran it through their verification systems, expecting errors, inconsistencies, or fatal miscalculations. Instead, they found something else. His route was not only correct, it was more efficient than any other submission. It accounted for gravitational slingshots, stellar drift, and unforeseen deviations in ways no AI-driven model had. While the alien cadets had designed rigid, mathematically perfect paths, Jackson's route adapted to real-world conditions, making it faster, safer, and more reliable. A heavy silence filled the room. The cadets who had dismissed him now stared at the results in disbelief. Their weeks of meticulous calculations had been outperformed by a method that, to them, seemed almost primitive. One of the judges ran the numbers again. The outcome remained the same. How? An alien cadet finally asked, his voice laced with frustration. How did he do this without running thousands of simulations? Jackson met the question with a calm shrug. I didn't need simulations. The stars already had the answers. The professor who had observed him earlier stepped forward, his expression unreadable. He had suspected there was more to human navigation, but this was something else entirely. The implications were staggering. This method, the professor muttered, more to himself than anyone else. It's not reliant on fixed calculations. It allows for adaptability mid-journey. AI models struggle with unpredictability, but humans thrive in it. The realization spread through the room. Their entire approach to navigation had been challenged, not by superior technology, but by something far older. Something they had dismissed as obsolete. Jackson remained silent, letting the weight of the moment settle. He wasn't here to prove humanity's superiority, only to show that their way of thinking had value. And now, for the first time, the rest of the galaxy was beginning to see it too.